On today's episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, we start the positional grades, kicking it off with the running backs. If all goes right, then this group will be exactly what the Houston Texans offense need. But also, how far is the floor from the ceiling if it all falls down?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation! We are 2 weeks away from training camp, and boy, am I excited to talk Texans with you good people. Shout out to our everydayers from the Himalayas making the Locked On Texan podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your Texans football analyst and credential media member, the John Hickman, and we talking running backs today. The importance of a good backfield for the Houston Texans. What if it all falls down? How far is the floor from the ceiling? I kick off today's episode just giving my running back grades on for the group all together, which features some former All-Pros, a couple of rookies, and a couple of players that you may not know what their future holds in terms of them being off 6'10". And Kirby, again, thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. I don't know about y'all, man. Before I even get to the talking Texans, I don't know about y'all, but I can smell it. If you smell what the NFL is about to start cooking, we got teams reporting to training camp now, but because of the Hall of Fame game, the Houston Texans will kick it off next week. And I'm just excited to be around football again. College football dropped, so you know that we're going to get college football soon. But you guys are here to talk Texans, and let's kick it off with one of the groups that I don't have that much worry about, especially if they are 100% healthy, and that is the running back group. The running back group for the Houston Texans combined for over 1,600 rushing yards in altogether, of course, in 2024. The 2025 group features Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Woody Marks, British Brooks, Jawar Jordan. Those two players are still on the roster. J.J. Taylor, Texans signed fullback Jacob Johnson, so I'm going to include him as well this offseason, who spent some time with Nick Caley between 2019 and 2021 during their New England days. And also Johnson has some familiarity with the other offensive assistant coach here, Jared Shabinsky. They spent some time in, I want to say Oakland so bad, but with the Vegas Raiders for some time. But I give the running backs, I give that group, I think, a solid A grade. Joe Mixon alone, I think he gives Houston a B based on what he was for the Houston Texans in 2024. Despite missing 3 games, Mixon maintained high usage, compiled over 1,000 scrimmage yards, 12 total TDs, 8.6 yards per catch, ranked 16th in yards per route run, 18th in PFF receiving grade, 300 receiving yards. Joe Mixon being productive as he was while having 14% of his carries ending in a loss, which placed him near the top of the league in that category, according to Huddle. Him being that productive while facing the adversity that he did, it's amazing. It is amazing. And here's what I like what the Texans did, right? They brought in Nick Chubb on a very friendly deal for both parties. They drafted a young running back in Woody Marks. This is a dynamic. There's a dynamic there that the backfield in Houston hadn't had in a while, in some seasons, right? Houston has at some point in their career, whether the NFL or the collegiate level, they have feature backs with load carrying experiences. Y'all watch it. It gives Houston the option to load manage Mixon, bring along Chubb slowly. I don't think there will be a lot of competition in terms of who makes the roster or who won't, but the competition more so would be for the pecking order once you get past Joe Mixon. Overall, given what Houston wants to do, and that is create a successful rushing team, the players in that room give Houston a chance, as long as, of course, the offensive line is better. And by the way, I think it was Juice Scruggs, maybe Jared Patterson, recently went on Texans radio, mentioned how they changed their approach in terms of how they went about blocking towards the end part of the last season. And Joe Mixon nearly rushed for 200 yards in their playoff run. So when I look at the Houston Texans running backs all together, I think a solid A is great, right? Especially considering before we get to preseason and training camp, you have to go on based off, in my opinion, you got to go on what's there. Okay, what's there? Joe Mixon being Joe Mixon. Missed 3 games last year, still got over 1,000 yards, still had multiple games where he was able to rush for 4.2 yards per carry, still had games where he was able to get 20 carries a game in those games, still had moments where he was the closer for the Houston Texans. Yes, I understand he was in a boot this past offseason, and there's some concern there. However, the last time we saw Joe Mixon, he was out of that boot. Also considering that with this new regime, let's call it that, right, with Nick Caley, Cole Popovich, the players that they brought in on the offensive line, how they went about everything seems to be, offensively at least, in all hands on deck. The offensive line still scares me, and I can't wait to get to that episode. The offensive line still scares me. There's still concern there. But if there was concern there ending off last season where I felt like at times the play calling didn't play into the favor of what they had on the field, there was concern then, and Joe Mixon was available was impactful when he was available, then I have no reason to believe that he won't be impactful when he's available this year. So that's number one. Number two, I love the Nick Chubb signing. Granted, he may not make the roster again. The contract is extremely friendly. Houston could move on from that. But the arrival of Nick Chubb, again, based on the moments that Nick Chubb had the last time we saw him play football, Nick Chubb is not one of those guys, and I can't wait to get into it. Like, you want to kind of limit him a little bit, but imagine him as a relief pitcher if he's 100% healthy. Woody Marks and what he brings, right? Dameon Pierce and what he can bring in an offense that's tailored more to his strengths. So overall, I think giving this team an A grade, I think it's fair going into preseason, going into training camp, which is, next week. And then we'll start to see how everything aligns out. I think that's where the competition again will be. Who follows under Joe Mixon? I don't think it's a guarantee given that we'll see Nick Chubb as RB2. I don't think so. And keep in mind, with the amount of newness, and you guys will love this conversation once I get to it later in this episode, with the amount of newness, hey, man, you may want to lay back from forcing him out there as much as some people may think he'll be out there. But we got to continue our episode, and conversation with the point of, okay, every ceiling has a floor. And if Houston's running back group hits the floor, what would that look like? And would that leave room for Houston to explore upgrading the backfield? So stay locked in on Locked On Texans podcast. We got more Texans talk on the way. But first, Texan fans, as we get ready to prepare for training camp, then you know what's around the corner after that. Preseason, you want to get out there and support your Houston Texans, and you absolutely can with Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see, or an athletic event. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices drop as closer you get down to the showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deal. So I know you're tired of all of the endless scrolling trying to find the best deal. Game Time has zone picks, where they pick the best seats in the section for you. Or if you ever wonder where your view will, what your view will look like before you buy, the app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there's no surprises. Worried about what happens if plans change, don't worry about that with Game Time. The Game Time guarantee has you and your ticket covered with a cancellation protection and more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets, game tickets, and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Texans podcast. I want to ask you guys a question. Please drop it in the comments. What is the confidence level for you guys in the running back room as it is today? And I'm going to give you guys the names again. Joe Mixon leading the way. Nick Chubb, offseason signing. Dameon Pierce going into his 4th year. Woody Marks, the rookie out of USC, also spent some time in the SEC. British Brooks, lined up for Houston playing some fullback, had 1 carry for 2 yards, played 9 snaps, mostly played special teams. Jawar Jordan, he was like one of those hot topics for the Houston Texans last year, rookie. A lot of people want to see him get on the field, J.J. Taylor, and I'm going to also include fullback Jacob Johnson. And I'm making sure that I include Jacob Johnson because with the amount of question marks surrounding the offensive line, I am wondering in terms of personnel and how Nick Caley would go about deploying this personnel, will a fullback be featured here in Houston? That was not the case with the LA Rams in 2024 that much. In 2023, we saw players like Brian Skoranek kind of line up at fullback, a player that the Houston Texans traded for last year, didn't use him, let him go. He ended up in Pittsburgh, but they found different ways to get creative with using players to supplement the fullback position. Now we take it back to the New England days. Again, Jacob Johnson signed here in Houston over the offseason. He spent some time with Nick Caley and Cole Popovich with the New England Patriots during the 2019-2021 season. So let me know where your confidence level lies right now in the running back room. Any comment section on YouTube and argue amongst yourselves. Before we continue the conversation, I read rookie wide receiver Trey Harris, the deadline for Chargers rookies to report was up, and second-round receiver Trey Harris is officially having a holdout, and a good number of rookie second-round picks are unsigned. But you know who's not dealing with that problem? You know who's signed already and ready to go? Jaden Higgins, the young man out of Iowa State who got the fully guaranteed deal. Nick Caserio, man. You look at the contract that Garrett Wilson just got, compare that to the 30 years compared to the 21 Nico Collins is getting, a steal. And then you see Nick Caserio with the fully guaranteed to rookie wide receiver Jaden Higgins, and now how that kind of threw off the market. Those guys feel like, hey, if he's getting it, I should get it too. So shout out to Higgins, man. But whether you are in or out, I think when we talk about any of these positions, probably other than D tackle or D line altogether, it'll be smart for Houston to keep their options open in terms of room for improvement, right? And this is what this segment is about. Like, does Houston look to make an upgrade in the running back position in that room? And what are the concerns? And again, I think D line altogether, edge, D tackle, the 3 technique, the 5 technique, the inside 1 technique, whatever you want to call it, like those guys are set. It's some game breakers on the outside. It's some gap controllers on the inside, exactly what D'Amico Ryans is looking for. So it's always smart to keep your options open. So boom, I gave the running back group a grade of an A, and I think that is fair. However, when judging a room, as much as we love to acknowledge the ceilings, we must examine the floors. What would the floor look like, and what are the concerns for a group that will presumably feature Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, Asher next to Dameon Pierce. A lot of us don't know if Dameon Pierce will make the 53-man roster because Woody Marks, does he make the 53-man roster, right? Houston drafted him. They like him a lot, 4th-round pick. That'll be 4 running backs, not including if Houston decides to keep a fullback and maybe they look to supplement what they would do with a fullback from the tight end unit, and also Dare Ogunbowale. He's in competition as well. What would be scary enough to happen for that grade of an A to turn into something where Houston is in trouble? I'll tell you. It's the same thing you tell a person when you got off work without using your PTO. Injury. Injury. An injury to Joe Mixon that would hold him out for some time would really hurt this team, especially if we see something that would hold him out during the first 8 weeks where Houston has to play 5 playoff teams. 5 damn good teams. And division games, which you guys don't respect it. Like, based off of last season, Houston was in dog fights in majority of their games, right? The blowout games. New England was a blowout game. The Chargers in the playoffs was a blowout game. There wasn't a lot of blowout games for Houston. There wasn't a lot of one-score games, and there was a lot of one-score games in the division games. So, like, division games, you got to respect it, right? But in their first 8 weeks, they played 5 playoff teams. Houston will need Joe to be Joe. Offensive line issues, check. New offensive system, check. Going into battles against top teams, check. These are all the situations Joe Mixon has been a part of and he's thrived under. And with a revamped offense and new pieces, Mixon will be needed on the field in that huddle and will need to be one of Houston's go-to players. Plus, I am not looking for Chubb, Pierce, or the rookie to be the volume carrier of the ball. I don't view Marks, the rookie out of USC. I don't view him as a Gibbs or a Bijan type of back, at least not yet. But I do see him being impactful, mainly early, to be exact, in spurts. You may have moments where 5 carries this game. Okay. Those 5 carries, you want to see him average between, to be fair to the young man, 3.8 to 4.3 yards per carry. Hopefully that the median is 4 yards a carry every time he touches the rock. But none of those guys, and if there was a guy out of those 3, out of the Chubb, Pearson, and the rookie, if there was a guy, if he made the roster, that I would say, hey, give him between 8 to 12 carries a game to kind of limit their workload on Joe Mixon, it would be absolutely Dameon Pierce based off of right now. Without Mixon, the room for Houston's running back room is probably 5 feet off the ground compared to the ceiling, when healthy and fresh as possible, 15 feet off the ground, 15 feet from the ground. That unit plays a critical role in the success of the team's offense. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that unit plays a critical role in the success of that team's offense? In my discussion on Locked On Texans before we close out, I'll explain why successfully running the ball will give Houston's offense the best chance to rank among the top 12 offenses in the NFL. We got more Locked On Texans talk, discussing the running back group, giving positional grades, kicking it off with the running backs. More Texans talk on the way to close out the show. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. The Locked On NFL Top 100 will be released on Wednesday, July 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern on Locked On Sports Today. The NFL Top 100 was voted on by the NFL host of Locked On NFL, and there are some stunners. Don't miss where your favorite players are ranked. Subscribe to the Locked On Sports Today show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. You don't want to miss it. And I'll talk about it more here on the show, because I know y'all can't wait to talk about Nico Collins, 12 out here, continuing the conversation surrounding the running back group. So thank you for sticking around. This is probably my favorite part. The importance of Houston having a good backfield. Hey, man, we love CJ. We love him, right? We want to see CJ strive and thrive. We want to see CJ essentially, for a lot of people, we want to see CJ kind of fulfill that Tom Brady-esque mode. And don't come in the comments saying he's nothing like Tom Brady. conversations are being had. There's a lot of likeness there in terms of gameplay, right? And I'm not calling him Brady. I'm just saying there's likeness there. This is year one of a new offense. He's going into year three. He's still learning the NFL. I think he'll bounce back from 2024, of course, but there is something to be said about the running back group being a major part of the success for the offense, being a major part of aiding CJ Stroud to get to the best version of himself. So here's a few advanced numbers I want to share with you regarding the importance of this unit being good for the offensive production. Joe Mixon played in 14 of the 17 games in 2024. Here are some numbers from those games. In the wins, 134 carries, 33 rushing first downs. A rushing success rate, and this is rushing gaining a first down, right under 25%. In wins and losses, 111 carries, only 19 first downs, a success rate of about 17%. In games where Mixon maintained a higher rushing success rate, the Texans came out victorious. The team averaged nearly 26 points per game. This is a strong indication of an offensive performance closely tied to the effective running attack. That's it, guys. That's it. See, Houston's problem a lot last year was they weren't able to score points when they needed to score points. And they couldn't protect CJ Stroud from to go score points a lot of times. Yeah, it was bad. So you need this running back group to be damn good. And I want to reiterate here, guys, like because Nick Caley has already mentioned Houston will commit to the run game, he's already said it. So that is one way to look at the importance of the backfield being critical to the team's success. But also check this out. Those vets back there, they will be a part of an offense that Stroud will have more control over, at least based on the conversations from press conferences since the arrival of Nick Caley. Speculation included. There's no better option to have next to a still young quarterback in a new offense that won't have Laramie out there. I still got to say, as much as we give Laramie like flack, he still was going to protect him. But there's no better option to have out there to a young quarterback going into year three in a new offense than those guys who has been in multiple offenses. They've been in those multiple offenses, right? Who has blocked for different type of quarterback, different style of quarterbacks, right? The pocket passers, the scramblers, and those running back vets who has an understanding of assignments. This is the main reason why I don't want to see Woody Marks out there too much early on. So if you guys want to say you think Woody Marks won't be good, no. And I'll make it a little bit clear for you guys. From week 1 to about, let's say, coming out of the bye week, how often realistically should the Houston Texans see Woody Marks? Should he be a volume carrier, or again, should we see him in spurts? You decide. But you need a running back there that's going to be able to help with those assignments. Nick Chubb is a hell of a block out of the backfield. You need those running backs out there to be, and Joe Mixon did a very good job for the offense last year in 2024, being a relief out of the backfield in terms of pass catching. You need those guys out there. You need them out there, and I think Houston will benefit, especially CJ Stroud, will benefit from the fact of playing with Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb if he's on the field. Those veterans matter a lot. They matter a lot. Plus, Caley, he's been a part of some very effective rushing teams and knows this is the best way to ease a quarterback into an offense. So he'll do what he's seen work and win. He's seen it win with New England. Seen a win with LA. So get ready, Houston Texans fans, for a team that will look to make their quarterback's job easier before fully unleashing him to the NFL world, where a lot of people feel like CJ Stroud ain't a top 10 quarterback. And I'm just trying to figure out on what list, given what we know, given what we've seen, given what we speculate about, given the changes the Houston Texans have made, in what world is CJ Stroud not a top 10 quarterback? Strip away accomplishments. You can keep those for CJ Stroud. Opening up his career, back-to-back playoff wins, back-to-back division champions. It's rookie of the year is rookie year. Back-to-back in the first in the divisional round games, back-to-back blowouts. Given what we saw in 2024 when you had 5 games without Nico comes back, you lose Stephon goes down. You lose Tank Dell later on in the season. You have an offensive coordinator and Bobby Sloak. Look, so bad he was gone after 2 seasons. Can't risk and jeopardize you around our quarterback. How is CJ Stroud not a top 10 quarterback? I'm not sure. But I tell you what, in order for the Houston Texans and in order for CJ Stroud to return back to the quote-unquote glory, because there's conversations about, well, maybe his rookie year was just a rookie year moment. In order for CJ Stroud to get back to that point where it's 4,100 yards, 4,000 yards, right? A lower interception rate. And it's going to be always hard to it's going to be hard to always keep that interception rate low. I get it. Only Aaron Rodgers is probably the best quarterback I see do it. And to eventually get to 30-plus touchdowns, in order to get to that, Houston will need their running backs to be good. They're going to need their offensive line to be serviceable good. That's a combination of I don't even want to say mid. Houston, on a scale of 1 to 10, they need that offensive line to be about a 7. And that is where the next podcast will kick up as I continue with the grades. I'm kicking it off on the offensive side of the ball. Today's show is all about the running backs, helping out CJ Stroud, who some people feel like executives around the league feel like he's not a top 10 quarterback. That's not me. And we'll kick it up on the next podcast looking at the offensive line. Because if they ain't good, Houston better hope they get to 10-7 if they ain't good. If they're not serviceable. So make sure you listen to the next episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. We are getting back into the groove of things, guys. I took a nice little sabbatical away from social media. Wasn't on it a lot as of late. But with training camp around the corner, y'all will hear from me more. Y'all will see from me more because we get back to 5 shows a week. Subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Come back with me for the next great show, Offensive Line, Texan Squad show on Tuesday, 6 o'clock. If there's a change in that, we'll make sure we tweet it out and alert you guys. But until next time, Battle Red Nation across the nation. Peace.